No, see.
Please tell me,
Yes.
what were the kinds of plants you planted, and what were some of the challenges you faced when planting these?
Okay. Well, this is all very new to me. I just recently got into doing a butterfly garden because last year I raised some monarch butterflies, as you know. So this is very new. But basically, through my research on monarchs, I came across a nursery in Northford, Connecticut called Nature Works. And they're very into native plants and also pollinator gardens. And so I went there actually last fall, and they gave me some plants 50% off because it was fall, which included this, I don't know how to pronounce it, hyssop or hyssop, Hyssop. And the pollinators really seem to like this. I've seen a lot of butterflies, the smaller ones, I think they're called skippers, lots of bumblebees and honeybees, and it has a nice little scent. I got this mountain mint, which is amazing. I don't know if this plant is native. I know there's different kinds. There's, I think, a Virginia mountain mint, which has much smaller, almost like pine needle-like flowers. And the pollinators love this. You can smell it. It's really potent. It's almost like an overly potent mint. Everything loves this, almost a little too much. There's a lot of wasps on it and stuff, but those are pollinators too. And I actually even forget what this is called, but the butterflies like this too. So anyway, I believe this is native. I'm not sure about the hyssop or hyssop. This is Joe Pye weed, and this is definitely a native plant. And the pollinators love it. It's just starting to bud now. And these are all like nectar plants. None of them are host plants. I can talk to you about it. And honestly, I don't even know what this is. I'm waiting to find out. It might be an aster, which blooms kind of late summer. And then here we have the butterfly weed, and this is swamp weed. And obviously, I'm sure you guys have come across this information by now. The monarchs love this for nectar and as a host plant. And then I have some iris that I had previously, and I also had some daylilies, which I'm actually going to dig up and transplant because they're actually kind of taking over the garden, and replace them with some native plants. Okay. And then what was the next question?
Oh wait, the
Yeah.
next question was.
Oh, not the next question. The next.
The process.
Time. It actually really didn't take a lot of time. It's just, I would like more time to do more. But literally I planted these in the fall, and look at them, I mean, beautiful. I planted these seeds, I stratified them over the winter, which means I put them in the refrigerator. So they had kind of a wintering period. It's a forced wintering period. You can put the seeds out in the fall and let them naturally winter, but this was more of a controlled situation. And look, I mean, it's already blooming. I actually already have monarchs visiting and leaving eggs. So in terms of challenge, I mean, it's planting wasn't hard. I think it's the upkeep and learning, you know. But it's, if you love it enough, I think challenge kind of gets thrown out of it.
Yeah.
And I think anyone can easily do it if you find the right resources.
Yeah. All right. The first time, like, doesn't know anything about it, just wants to start planting.
I don't know really how to answer that question. How easy or hard is it? I think that it's easier now because I think there's a lot of people who are being exposed to the needs of our pollinators, and also just in general, I think maybe getting back in touch with nature again. At least it's been happening for me, and I've been finding more and more people who are getting interested. I don't think it's that I don't really think it's that challenging. I think there's a lot of resources out there to give you information. And lucky for us, it seems like there are some nurseries out there who are turning more towards native plants and pollinator gardens. So I think it's just a matter of, you know, typing some questions in on the internet and then finding some local resources to actually physically show you, and then elaborate on what you've already kind of retained just through research.
So we know that the monarch butterfly population is dwindling, and planting milkweed will help them.
Yeah.
Are there any other creatures in the phylum arthropods that everyday people can help proliferate and help make the sustainable environment for them?
Yeah, well, that's something that I'm learning too. Again, this is all very new for me, but I'm learning a lot about host plants right now. I think a lot of people talk about nectar plants, which I feel like is really kind of easy to plant and easy to access. So I think learning about host plants, are what the actual larvae of butterflies live on, is really a good start. So I think native host plants are a great thing to think about first, and then after that thinking, okay, in addition, does this native host plant also provide nectar? And I think you have in that, if you have those three things, then it's really, really good. So start with that, because it's amazing, the plants that are around you and what creatures are living on it. And if we can help sustain that, or even bring it back, that would be really, really good.
So lastly, what effects would it have if we were able to apply pesticides or herbicides to our lawn adjacent to the butterfly garden?
Yeah. So I'm learning a lot about this too, and I really don't know that much. I know what's happened here in my garden. We were spraying for ticks with cedar oil, and then we even were spraying for mosquitoes, and we had one bout of it that we've just been doing over the years prior to me doing any sort of butterfly garden, and I have noticed an effect just personally here. So I have stopped all of that, and through that have done some research also onto looking into insects that actually eat pests, and that's including, like, not insects, well, there's insects like ladybugs that eat aphids that are bad for milkweed, bats for mosquitoes, people are even getting chickens for ticks. So you have to start thinking about stuff like that. Even though they said that the cedar was organic, I do think it did have a lasting effect. So I'm more so now on the side of caution and kind of figuring out how we can let nature kind of take over and maybe take care of some of the pests that we're trying to eliminate with pesticides, and even organic pesticides. In terms of what's happening to adjacent property, obviously we don't live under a glass bowl, and so I think whatever happens over there is going to affect what happens here, because we need to be killing off things that are healthy for the environment, right? Not just the stuff that are unhealthy for us. So say we do spray stuff and it kills off the ladybugs that are coming over and eating the aphids, which otherwise would strangle a milkweed plant. So it's like I said, we don't live under a glass bowl, and so I think we have to think of the whole ecosystem when it comes to pesticides. So I would just avoid them in general if I could, and if other people were willing to, that would probably be nice.